Hello and welcome to Technicians Tuesday. This week we are going to be starting an engine that has been sitting for over 6 years. This here is a 300 horsepower Yamaha HPDI, and we are going to see if we can get this thing running again. So let's get started. Now when we are dealing with an engine that hasn't ran in many years, we are going to need a couple of things, and we want to check a couple of things before trying to start the engine. We're going to need 4 major items. 1, a battery or a jump pack that we can hook up to the engine's ground and power posts, a key switch or someone that can turn over the engine, and then a hose to get water to the engine, and then some good clean fuel that we can hook up to the motor. Before doing anything, we want to remove the air box and lube up all of the components, mainly the throttle plates and all of the springs on the throttle control linkage arm. Depending on what engine you are working on, we need to oil up all of these linkages so that we can open and close them without breaking anything, like this throttle link arm here, which are known for rusting and breaking. Then we want to drain the fuel system. We'll pull the fuel filter off and clean out the cup so we can run good, clean fuel through the engine's fuel system. Then if you are working on a fuel injected engine, you want to drain all of the old gunk out of the VST, or on a carbureted motor, you want to drain the carb bowls to get any old fuel and gunk out of the carbs. I'll put some links in the description to some articles we have written on what are VSTs, as well as some more in-depth information on starting an outboard that has been sitting for a long time. But once we take out the drain screw to the VST, we want to hook up to our fuel that we brought and prime that through the fuel filter, then through the VST and into a jar so we can see what we're working with. This will get us to where we know we have clean fuel all the way into the VST. Now we can move on to getting some lubricant into the cylinders and around the pistons. So we'll pull off the spark plug wires and then pull out the spark plugs. With the plugs out and the battery hooked up to the engine, I like to use my remote key switch here to make it easier for me to turn over the engine without having to run up into the boat. But we will fill the cylinders with some sort of a fogging oil, and then we can turn the key switch and turn the engine over, getting that oil on the pistons, piston rings, and the cylinder walls before we try and start the engine. Now that we have everything oiled up, we've got clean fuel, and we know the engine turns over, we can go ahead and put the plugs in and try to start the engine. Sometimes new plugs are needed to get the engine running, but other times we can get lucky without having to change the plugs. Unfortunately for this motor here, it wouldn't fire up and run by itself. We could get it to run with some starting fluid, but it wouldn't run on its own. Seeing that it did fire with the starting fluid, we knew that the engine wasn't getting fuel to the cylinders, and once you get to this point, it is a good time to do a spark and compression test to make sure the engine is worth going any further in trying to get it to run. I'll put another link below for more info on compression testing on an outboard. But for this engine here, I know it has good compression and spark, and sadly this means that the injectors need to be cleaned. For these HPDIs, we have to remove this back piece here that holds all of the ignition coils, and this will expose the fuel rail which holds the injectors in. We can then take out these 4 12mm bolts holding the rail on, and then take a hammer and very carefully work the rail off. This can get tedious, but with some patience, we can safely get the rail off and get access to the injectors. Now this gets to be the real treat of the whole process. There is this 12mm bolt holding this clip on, covering the injector. These come off pretty easy, and if they don't, you can just tap on them with something until they fall off. The injectors, on the other hand, they do not come out very easily. What we do here is simply spray some good oil around the back of the injector and then using a screwdriver pry out on the base of the injector until it comes out. These can get stuck into the head and sometimes you can't get them out without destroying them. So if they won't come out, just leave them in the head and we can clean them the best we can while they are on the engine to save us from spending some major bucks on replacing them if we break them. And that is going to bring us to the end of this week's Technicians Tuesday. Now you're going to want to make sure you're subscribed to the channel and that you've got the bell on so you don't miss out on the next week's video where we will be cleaning these injectors and seeing if we can get this old Yami to run like it should once again. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and we'll put all those links for more information in the description below, which can all be found on our website at bornagainboating.com. And we would love to hear about your experience on getting your old outboard to run again in the comments section below. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday night and we'll see you next week.